My wife has been short. She's been cold with me, and it seems like she's really overwhelmed. How can I help her? What can I do here as the man that I want to be, the supportive, compassionate, connecting man that I want to be when it seems like she's in pain? That's what Cynthia and I are going to talk about today on the C Note Show. She and I teach how to love and lead with mojo like a king in long-term monogamous relationship. Cynthia and I are both certified professional relationship consultants and coaches. We've been doing the C Note Show since the beginning of 2020. And we're here again to talk about how to be the man you want to be in a long-term relationship, even if she's cold, short, and overwhelmed. How can I help? There's a post from a man this week that's phenomenal that I'm going to read here in a moment. And there's three situations that I'm going to ask Cynthia about here today on this call. The first situation is your woman. She might say, or she might be acting like right now, I don't need no man. So I'm going to ask Cynthia about that. Or she might be in a spot where she's saying, I really just want him to step up. Or she might be in number three here. She's hurt and she doesn't know what she wants. So, gentlemen that are on here live, I want you to punch a one, a two, or a three into the chat. What can you relate to most deeply? Where's your wife at right now? Number one, I don't need no man. Number two, I really just want you to step up. Or number three, she might say, I'm hurt and I don't know what I want. So I'm going to read this man's post and we're going to talk about this. There's many pieces to this. I hope you have something to take notes because they're absolutely something to learn in every one of these calls. He wrote, I want to peek at my own shortcomings as I have found myself crashing and burning again, as I often have over the course of this work. Thus, I will continue to open up my soul like a cadaver on the operating table. My wife has been short, cold, overwhelmed, anxious, and struggling if she should continue to teach or move on from teaching. Her heart was heavy for at least 2 or 3 days, and then she moved from there to I'm all touched out, and then to I'm just exhausted. I brought up today that my heart was heavy and I missed her and asked her open ended questions about what she needs and how I can help with her anxiety. She asked why my heart was heavy, and I told her she'd been colder than normal and rejective to my small moments to connect with her. Holy fucking shit. Mistake. That started her down the road of, well, I need this from you, and I had to take care of the kids, and I just need some rest. How do I not care about her and have nothing left to give? Everyone needs something from me. I don't get 2 minutes to myself, she said, and on and on. I tried my hardest to ask her how I could help. I just tried to be present, but she just wouldn't let go of me sharing my heart. She kept coming back to it and then trying in every way to disapprove that I shouldn't even feel that way. The whole thing left me feeling raw and vulnerable. I almost never want to open up to her about my feelings ever again. It's like she can't hear what I said because she only understands how what I said made her feel. And then she shares what she feels and shits all over me. I just feel raw and icky and angry that I don't get heard at all. I guess I don't need a mommy. I don't know. I don't know anything about this one. Please advise. Questions. Did I mess up? She kind of left it open for me to speak. Should I have backed off and just addressed her concerns once the shit hit the fan? I'm very confused with how to navigate this one. I thought I should open up and connect, but now I'm thinking I should have just said, oh, you are not being as warm and loving as normal. What's up with that? Is this how that's done? Do I ever share my feelings? I'm very confused. And in the first 24 hours, this man had 12 different comments in response, supporting him, giving a different perspective. And I was one of those. But I want to jump in first with Cynthia, where can you relate to what this man's trying to do? And how, in general, is a woman in a masculine and feminine dynamic, in a polarized dynamic, going to feel in her feminine when he says, my heart was heavy because you've been colder than normal and rejective to my moments to connect with you? And so if I come and I ask, hey, what's wrong? How can I help? And my heart's really heavy. And she asks, well, why is your heart heavy? And I said, well, you've been cold and rejective of me.
Oh, I
So,
can't even
yeah.
handle it.
So talk about that first, and then we're going to go into those three different situations and how a man might respond.
Yeah, I mean, it's like somatically, I just like even reading that, I just instantly close down. It feels like this woman is is like the water levels right here in terms of what she's going through in life, what she's considering her own emotional plane. And so, even though he's being really honest and kind of calling her out for what it is, in the feminine that comes through is, oh, such judgment and denouncement of wrongness. And I can only imagine in that situation that she would take that opportunity to even like clap back, that somehow this is all his fault that she's feeling this way, or collapse and just want total space, not wanting anything to do with his energy. Because it, for the feminine, that felt like a wrong bad checkbox versus hey, something must be really going on. uh would you be willing to share? Can you share? And I know that maybe she wouldn't in that moment, but even that offering to her is much more of an open feeling than the denouncement of you've been cold, because that's it's kind of like the knife to the heart with for a woman to her femininity.
Hmm. Yeah. So he's stacking, as we teach to not stack. He's stacking multiple things here. So he's seeing that something's going on with her. She's been anxious, cold, overwhelmed, but then he's stacking his own heaviness. He's stacking his own judgment into the situation. So you said it checks the box of wrongness. Say more about that. What does that do to a woman's feminine nature?
Yeah, I think in their misperceptions of you, women, the feminine, can perceive more logical things as a, they feel it as a black and white energy. And so for them, if something's said in that way, it's like I'm either right or I'm wrong. And if she feels like the information coming is pointing to she's wrong, she's bad, there's a weakness or an ineptness in her, especially her feminine, it just, there's no room for her to go from there, uh, other than kind of like the fight back or the retreat.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll talk more about this. What questions do you have about what Cynthia is saying? Definitely post in the chat. I hope you're taking notes. One thing I responded to this man, it's okay that he feels heavy. It's okay that he feels the rejection from her, but to take that to her and ask her to fix it is inappropriate. It actually puts her in more of a parenting role, like he's a child. And he even said, I guess I don't need a mommy. Like he's realizing as he's writing this that he put his shit up on her. So not only he's not just asking about her, he's trying to get some kind of outcome. So
Mm.
I'm assuming that sounds manipulative. That feels manipulative when he stacks his own bad feelings on there.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it makes perfect sense that he would want something fixed, uh, and that he would kind of call her out to do that. But she will take that through the filter of he only thinks about himself. He's self-absorbed. He doesn't really care about her. And I know that's not true. But in that feminine frame, that's what she'll experience and that's what she'll react to.
If you want closeness and connection and more intimacy, your job is to invite into fun, adventurous situations. It's not appropriate to go dump that on her and say she's doing something wrong. So the feminine grows through praise, the feminine grows through invitation into adventure. The masculine grows through challenge and criticism. So we make the mistake of assuming she's like you, or she makes the mistake of assuming you're like her, and we treat each other as if we're like she's a man, or she treats us as if we're another woman. Yeah, we talk about that in other calls. So let's jump forward to, all right, which one of these is your woman most like right now? She might be in the I don't need no man spot. She might be in the I really just want him to step up, or she might be in the I'm hurt and I don't know what I want. A lot of you guys in the chat put number 3, I'm hurt and I don't know what I want, or some number 2, I really just want you to step up. Okay, no one feels like their woman's in the I don't need no man spot right now. Well, let's start with that one. And my initial thoughts are if she's in the I don't need no man, I'm not going to be giving her much attention. I'm not going to be giving her much if she's completely shut down and rejective of my invitations. My invitation for her to open and share with me, my invitation to intimacy and fun and adventure. If she's completely closed down to me, why would I want to chase her? Why would I want to continue to give her too much energy? Because that's only validating the spot that she's from. Talk with us about that first. If she's in a I don't need no man, how is that different than otherwise?
Yeah, that's energetically, that reminds me of almost like that she's got this bubble around her, and it's this cold glass bubble because she wants to be so self-sustained, because anything that she might need or want from the masculine to her is feeling weak. And so she's getting a sense of her own power, maybe even power over, by kind of telling herself the story she needs no one and nothing from you. She's totally self-sustained. And in that way, she has not transitioned into a man, but she's definitely in her own masculine. And so even if there is wanting to engage with her, it's through words of, hey, I really respect how you do this. Um, or, hey, I appreciate the work you put into that, because you're speaking more to her masculine. You're speaking more to the glass side that still wants to be reflected and seen, but through a very filtered lens.
So that's a great point. We teach that she has a masculine shell or masculine shielding, as you called it, on top of her feminine heart. And so if she doesn't need a man, she's fully in the masculine shielding mode. So your point is you can still honor her and praise the masculine check boxes, the tasking, the parenting, the things that she's doing in the world. So she at least feels seen in that way.
Yeah.
And that's a potential key as we teach to open up that shell to her
Yeah.
masculine heart. But if she's fully in, I don't need no man, she may not accept the compliment. She may blow it off. She may turn away. And the, go ahead.
And that's because her whole identity, like literally, she feels like her whole breath and survival is based now on this belief. And so trying to wrestle that from her fingers would feel like she would be absolutely losing everything, the whole network of something that's holding her upright.
So I can imagine a man asking, well, why should I give her anything then? And it's because that's who you are as a man. You value honoring your partner. You value praising those around you or those in your family, not chasing her, not trying to overly validate her, right? Not trying to get something out of it, but it could be a smile and a good morning when you see her in the kitchen. And if she grumbles and turns away, well, you're not going to chase her. You're not going to continue to engage if she's throwing this in your face. But what kind of man do you want to be, regardless, is why you might give her any attention in that moment at all. So let's see a couple questions in the chat. Yeah. Some gentleman saying, like, yeah, I did that this morning. That makes sense. Isn't that a slap in the face of women saying they want men to tell them what a man wants? Can you come on in and tell us more about that? Isn't a slap in the face saying they want men to tell them what they want? Come say more about that for us.
Sure. Yeah, I I keep hearing, women like men to tell them what they want. They want someone who knows where they're going and what they want, and and it seems like if I came up to my wife and said, I'm feeling kind of heavy. Is there something wrong? Is there something going on? In bad times, I think my wife would say, no, nothing's going on. But I would say most of the time she would say, yeah, I think this, or I feel this. I keep going back to I almost want to say that whenever I get on these men group things, it's like the opposite. Like my wife comes after me constantly. And I'm like, I emailed you and I said, it's me. I'm trying to stay in the relationship. I'm not trying to get her back. Like she's not wanting to leave the relationship. I'm kind of struggling with, do I want to stay here and be lectured to and criticized? And I understand what you guys are saying wholeheartedly about the masculine part of women. It really strikes true. Ever since I've met her, she was an executive at a large advertising firm, and she's a master delegator. And so, you know, as time went on and the relationship started to struggle, she treated me like an employee. And I kept telling her, you know, not to do it. And we've struggled with that for forever, telling me what I'm doing wrong, what I need to do, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the men's group here has really helped me get over the fact that she is not intentionally trying to be mean. I need to come at it differently. But it seems like you know, to basically man up and know what you want. Yeah, so if I can see how it would stack up on top of her emotional strain, but I don't see where that's a wrong thing for him to come and pursue her in a way to resolve or to reconnect.
Yeah,
Does that make
that's a
sense?
great question. So let me press pause on you, and that's
Sure.
a fantastic question. Let's talk about that right now. So that's number two. I really just want you to step up is kind of what you're saying. That's what your woman is like. Maybe she's saying it in a very abrasive way. Maybe she's saying it in a challenging or insulting way. It depends on the situation. But yeah, let's talk about that right now. So it's not wrong or bad for him to want to open her. That's great. The mistake he made here is to stack his own negative feelings into the situation and to basically blame her for his negative situations. He's not maybe thinking that, but that's what Cynthia was describing is she's taking it as that. So the rule of don't stack multiple things into one conversation is the rule that he's violating here. So it's fantastic that he's asking her to open, but it's not okay that he bring his negative emotions and put them on her. Now, to your point, okay, another time, and I'll ask Cynthia about this right now, another time he may go to her and say, I would like for us to connect. This Saturday at 7 o'clock, I'd like for us to have time together. Let's take a bath. Let's watch the sunset, something like that. And specifically invite her into an intimate moment or an intimate block of time together. So that's what he would do to invite into what he's wanting, not go to her and say, you've been cold and distant and you need to basically fix the intimacy between us, is the insinuation. What would you add to that?
Yeah, gosh, even just hearing it another time, I like felt my facial muscles like struggling with that. There's such a difference in the what you said about is almost asking her to fix it can put such like a weight in her, especially if she's already feeling weighted down by many other things in her life, which women are really good at doing. And even though it makes perfect sense because there are things I would say that she does need to change and shift to get to be an intimate and long-term relationship with you. Her feminine will never be able to respond to that added weight in a way that's flourishing and blossoming. The feminine in her needs a way, even if it's all grumpy and tired and overwhelmed and hot, and you providing some guardrails of, hey, this is where I'd like us to go to meet at this next time. At least, even if the river's red and grumpy and swirling, can flow in that general direction versus being sat with, cold, distant, and those words will stay with her. That is such a jab again to her femininity that they won't just pass by. They will stay like Indian arrows in her chest and her solar plexus, and will be hurt that she'll have to kind of move through in the future and to be more connected with you.
Yeah. And so I can imagine man saying, well, then how do I bring up something I don't want?
Yeah.
And I would say another time, a separate time, you would say something direct like, I don't like fill in the blank behavior. I don't like being treated like an employee. So I'm not asking her to take care of my feelings then. I'm saying something I don't like. So what have you tried, or where are you within that?
That's gotten a lot better. I think, and this is probably, I shouldn't have, but I let her watch one of your guys' videos. I think it was like a 40-minute one with the two of you, and she absolutely loved you guys. And we were sitting at dinner somewhere, I can't remember. And we were talking about the past and how I had said that and how she treated me like a stepfather. Like she ran referee constantly with our kids, anything I did or said. And she goes, I can see that I did that now. And, I'm all, well, great. Yeah. 29 years into our marriage, and my daughter and I are still trying to recover from that time where she wanted me to be there for my daughter, but she wanted to referee every conversation and every interaction. And saying that, I right now she would probably just put her head down and realize she did it, or she would deny it and then come back later after a blow up and say, "You're right, I did, and I'm sorry." And so sometimes that's what we're kind of struggling with a little bit. She denies it or justifies it, and then while she's walking up the stairs 2 rooms away, she'll say sorry. And I think, I just realized, I think one of the things I'm struggling with is growing up in the 80s as a latchkey kid and being told by every commercial, every movie that men and women are the same. And I'm like, well, then like your question today, I'm like, well, then you fix it. I'm not here to fix your problems. I've got my own problems. I hate to sound like an asshole because I'm trying to get this across quickly, but I'm the same. Then you fix your problems, I'll fix my problems, and let's get on with life and love. And I'm trying to get over that and allow her femininity to come up. She really wants, and I really want. And it's hard to do that when you've been treated like an employee or a stepfather, to come back to that, which I grew up in a small rural Toronto. So we're coming from two different worlds. And by her words and actions, she's basically telling me we're the same person, and she's so tough and everything. And I'm saying, well, if you're going to act that way, then be it.
I totally know what you're saying. I grew up a latchkey kid too. I grew up with the same movies and TV shows. I grew up with the respect women and treat them just like you, and everyone's equal and all this. And actually, there's a lot of we talk about this off the call, offline, that there's a lot of millennials like that as well. Well, we're all equal. We're 50-50. We should both handle our own problems. And that's good for a level 2 roommate situation, but that's not great for a lover sexual dynamic. And let's take a step forward and we'll talk more about that. Yeah, a gentleman in the chat put I'm wondering if he can come in and talk about this. And that fun invitation, so as I was saying, your job is to invite into something fun. That fun invitation extends even into debate or argument situations, question mark. Wouldn't that keep her in her masculine, or would it lead her back to her feminine? So I'd love to hear what you mean. For me, I'm always looking for the edge. I'm looking for the edge within my own self, within my career, within my wisdom, at the gym, in my own, knowledge and making money. And I want edge in my relationship. And so if I'm inviting her into a tough situation or a hard conversation, depends on what you mean by debate or argument. I'm never going to argue with my woman, and I'm not trying to debate with her. But if you're saying opening her into a tough situation, yeah, I'm curious about that. I want to face challenge, and I know that it's good for our dynamic. So yeah, come on and talk with us about that.
So yeah, I use the term argue loosely because I don't believe arguing is the appropriate thing to do, but I think it's the common thing that most people fall into because they don't know better. But they also don't, like I said, they don't know better, so they think, oh, this is we have a problem, we have to argue and figure it out, right? And so I'm asking you, when you say, because I have the same belief, I heard it through David D. the first, you want to be fun, and you want to gently lead, and you want to, I think the word fun best describes it. You want to invite her into a fun situation. And since that really is how you're supposed to handle the relationship, from my understanding, all the time, does that even include in those situations where otherwise people would see the opportunity for a difficult conversation / typically an argument, when you're handling it inappropriately? Is that really just an opportunity for you to lead her in a, hard to say fun, but yes, still fun, conversation essentially of exploring yourselves and your differences and resolving, or not even resolving them, but just coming to an understanding.
Sure. That's a great question. So let me work in reverse. The goal is not to come to an understanding. That's a guy way of
Okay.
thinking. That's a guy way. Now, fun. So usually it's a woman who likes, and I point to Cynthia, I don't think she watches soap operas, but a woman thinks drama is fun. So
Right. That's true.
fun, yeah. So I go shoot shit and I go, like do competition with my guy friends. That may not be fun to a woman, but what's fun for a woman is emotional range. So
Right.
yes, joy, excitement, adventure, new experiences, and also depth and seriousness and drama and what's in the way of love. Like one of the ingredients of a romance novel is there's always a block to their love. There's always a impediment to them getting together. So it's not fun unless there's something in the way. And so a woman likes drama and emotional range. Now, with that said, I want to ask Cynthia about this right now. What are you getting when he says, "Yeah, well, I want to invite her into this because I know it's going to be a good thing." He's not afraid of her. He's not afraid of what she's going to say. How just different is the attitude that he's putting off than if you were afraid?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the edge of adventure, and that even makes me think too. I loved your question about, isn't are arguments just the way people fall into things because it's what you're supposed to do? I think uh you might end up being with a woman who enjoys the argument because of the drama. But what's so amazing about your energies, I can imagine you having, there can be intense conversations, but that you always have that kingly eye to the horizon too. Like the drama in the moment isn't all consuming like it is for her. It's, oh, we're having emotion in this moment, and I know that this emotional experience isn't forever. I know what adventures I'm taking her in the future. I know what we're going to do in the next hour, and that's not only magnetizing, but makes me feel like your depth and your skill with emotional range and holding that kind of place for a woman to be with you in that.
So if we're growing a garden and weeds sprout up in the garden, I'm not going to resent the weeds or become all emotional about the weeds or lament the fact that I need to go pull the weeds. It's just a part of growing a garden. It's just a part of that experience.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm getting at, is because, like you said, there's going to be weeds that come up, and that's fine. I understand. Like the girl I'm going out with now, she has her own situations from her past, and it makes her. I wouldn't say this to her face, but she has some insecurities, and so she says, you're lying to me about this, right? It's like, I know I'm not. And so is that really just an opportunity to take the same understanding I have of generally creating a fun moment, and instead of letting it turn into the average situation of an argument about how I'm not a liar, right? And rather take my solid understanding of how, women are looking for me to lead them into a fun situation, and to steer that typical argumentative situation in that direction instead is really what my question is.
So yes,
Does that make sense?
it does. So the quick answer is yes. Like yes, you want to lead into something that's fun. And now let me add to that. There was a question in the chat right now. Is there good drama or is there just bad drama? So is there good drama and then there's also bad drama? So I would say bad drama is when and I hate using labels, but when she's being abusive, when she's like calling you names or really disparaging who you are as a person. I'm not interested in that dynamic, right? So if she's calling you names or you're just an absolute punching bag or she's, curb stomping you, that's bad drama. That's just her playing power over and you're like a child. That's the parent-child dynamic. But to answer your question, whenever a woman says, you don't do XYZ, or she's saying you and then fill in the blank, that's a shit test. Okay. And the way to pass a shit test is to be playful about it, to agree and amplify. Like, absolutely. One of my alter egos is just to lie about everything. And that's what I'm doing right now, to just poke fun at you. So, a way that you can agree and amplify the situation. We've all heard, if you defend yourself, if you try to explain yourself, now you're backpedaling. Now you're putting her in the one that's approving of you. So you want to agree and amplify and try to be playful, or say, that sounds really painful. Tell me more about that. So you're not defending
The
what,
opener
yeah,
up approach.
that's right.
Right.
So you're either
Right. And
playful
I'm
or opener. Yeah.
awesome because I'm familiar with the second one, right? But um, sometimes it doesn't always seem like the right thing to do, And so it's great that you discussed what you did earlier. That question wouldn't have come up in my own mind because I never really would have thought that even in those argumentative moments, not that I haven't ever implemented it subconsciously, but yeah, to be able to see it in a more conscious light of realizing that this is just an opportunity to take something that could go down a very dark, incorrect, argumentative, destructive, hurtful path of honestly just the very selfish path too, unawares, where I'm seeking to be validated or seeking something myself, and actually just turn it into something very fun and light. And it doesn't always have to be about opening her up.
Absolutely. I made this mistake repeatedly in the past, guys. I had to learn I had to learn all this stuff. My initial feeling was to be insulted and then defend or counterattack. It's like the worst fucking thing you could do, basically. It's the worst thing you could do. So, yeah, I have to take a second. I have to take about 5 or 10 seconds to just check myself and not respond right away. And, like, how do I want to say this? Uh, it's not a fight. And I used to think that it was. And instead, I take a step back and give myself perspective on the situation, as if my child was mad at me. Like, Dad, I don't love you anymore because you didn't buy me the toy that I wanted. Or, Dad, you're a poopy face because you didn't buy me the candy that I wanted. That's not a fight. It's something that I can either play with or ask them their emotions about. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. We're almost out of time for today. So let's jump into the final of these examples, number 3, which was, this is most of the men's situations. So if she's cold, short, overwhelmed, and I'm trying to open her up,
Mhm.
but she's really not. She's staying closed down and she's hurt, but she's just staying hurt. She's staying closed down. What do the men need to know about that situation, and what would be best practice there,
Mm.
in your opinion, please?
Yeah, I would say so the hurt she's feeling is authentic, and feeling hurt can almost be a balm or a salve against feeling other things that are uncomfortable. So sometimes women can get almost their safety net is to stay in the I'm hurt mode, and to allow you to open her, to allow you to be inside of that feels like she's giving away her power. So she's kind of going to hold on to this again like it's an identity that she's clinging to. So being aware that that can happen kind of reminds me of the conversation about allowing the river, giving the river a little bit of riverbanks, offering up opportunities in the future or near future to share more, saying that the riverbank is, I want to hear more, I really want to understand, but also disengaging from that current moment. Because it's almost like a little girl going like this, like, no, I'm not going to talk to you. And feeding that is not going to help her get free of it. And no woman, we don't want for her to be in hurt little girl forever. There is going to need to be an opening and a real excavating. Otherwise, that little, like, even though it feels good, the hurt in the moment can start to take a real nosedive into depression and And that's not anything I want for her either.
Yeah. So practically, we teach what I call lovingly insist one time. So you see something's going on, you ask her to open to you, and she doesn't. She's closed down. And you lovingly insist one time. No, come on. I see that something's going on. Talk with me. Or come over here and sit with me. Sit next to me or sit on my lap. Come over here. And you lovingly insist one time to see if she'll open. If she refuses again, then you let her be for that day. And then tomorrow or a couple of days later, you try again. You try to get her to open. If she doesn't, you lovingly insist one time. Again, lovingly insist, right? Joy in your heart, wanting to hear what she has to say. You're not going to be defensive. You're not going to try to fix it. You're just going to fucking listen, right? Okay. Now, if that's chronic, there are interventions that you need to do. And by the way, if you want help with this, if you want to know that you're doing everything right, reach out to me, reach out to us. My email is jeff@greatmenmovemountains.com. Check out our stuff on our website, greatmenmovemountains.com. But there is an intervention you will need to do at some point, which is like, hey, during Saturday morning coffee, you might turn to her and say, I want you to open to me, and it seems like you're not. I want you to open to me, and it seems like you're holding on to something. And that's a more serious conversation. That's going right to, this is something that I want. So the point all the way back to the beginning of this call, I'm not saying, I'm sad because you're disconnected and I've been trying to open you, but you really haven't been doing it. So you need to fix that about yourself. I'm just going right to the behavior that I want. I want you to open to me. I want you to share what's going on. Okay. That's a nuanced thing. If you want help with that, definitely let me know. What would you like to leave the men with on that note today?
Yeah, and I've been on the side of that conversation of I want you to open to me, and there isn't the feminine isn't always then perfectly going to be able to unleash all her pain. There might be anger and frustration that comes up first, and she might even be angry at you for really pushing in, and that's also okay. Those are just the protectors in her own self, trying to keep that little part of her safe. The only way out of that is through it, and through it into a container that is held for her. And if you're the one who does that, then she is so lucky, because you are that grounded masculinity for her. You are the kingly eye for her, and you are the one that can stay in that container even when her dragons come up. And I have never seen such evolution in women than when they get to experience that and go through that with a man like you, of that kind of energy.
Awesome. Great stuff. Keep posting questions in our private Facebook forum. If you're watching this on YouTube, post a comment, post a question. We'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you being here. Thanks, Cynthia.